Going to Wrigley Field was a huge, unforgettable deal that impacted my life.
Well, I think the Cubs winning based upon the gap was one of the biggest championships that have happened in any American sport in a really long time.
The first day that they introduced me, I said, baseball matters on the north side of Chicago. It's one of the, I love baseball and I love fan bases where it's important.
Well, I always hated the idea of the Cubs as lovable losers because I don't think there's anything lovable about putting an inferior product in front of baseball fans.
It would be the highlight of my career to see that happen and to get a chance to call it. And it didn't disappoint.
I auditioned for the new kid. His name was Billy Crystal. I don't know whatever happened. But I'm on the Chad and Ryan show.
Welcome to Friendly Confines Extra Innings with Chad Gordon and Ryan Lieber.
I love
that intro.
I love that.
I love it, right?
The Chad and Ryan show. How cool is that?
Pretty awesome, man. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Ryan Lieber. That is Chad Gordon, and you are watching the Friendly Confines Extra Innings show. We are back, Chad, for another week after our inaugural episode of our webcast last week. We still have to come up with a name for what this exactly is. I kept calling it like a video cast or a webcast. I'm not quite sure. How would you describe what this show is of what we are doing?
I explained it to like 3 or 4 people this week, and we have an internet show now. That's what we have, and it's a preview for the podcast, which is the podcast is a preview for the internet show, and so we are now just spiraling into infinity. I don't know.
Yeah,
what do you
just
think?
Go around and around and around
and around. Yeah.
Chad is in his closet. I am with the Container Store behind me, but we're back for another week with all of your gear, Chad.
I changed the view. You see the Rossi jersey this time because
that's true. You did
last time.
Yes, yeah. you did tilt it slightly to the other side, so that was a good job by you.
I think we need to figure it out, like where we add an inning where I just grab something random from behind me and I tell the story around it. But I don't know if that'll be interesting. I have a question for you though. You're not doing the headphones thing, so you're just going to. Do I not need headphones? Should I not do that?
It's up to you. I mean, you look like you're recording something. I mean, you look the part more so, right? I mean, you have it down. I just figure if you can hear me the way that I am, why add anything more to it? We, of course, had a great episode last week. We had a great episode, this week. So let us start, Chad, in the 10th inning. And the Cubs have won 7 of their past 10 games, had a 5-game winning streak. They lost on Sunday to the Pirates, but looking good as they are 500 now at 17-17 going into their series against the Cleveland Indians. Chad, this team, though, plays great at Wrigley. Now it's time to see if they can continue that momentum on the road, but encouraged by what you saw over the past 6 games, to say the least.
Yeah, listen, I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to be the I told you so guy, but I told you so. I mean, we're 5 weeks into the season, and you can't write off a team. You can't just basically say, you know what, this team doesn't have it after just a couple weeks of playing with all the potential injuries and people that are slow starters. And so I'm pretty happy with this team. I mean, the fact that you sweep the Dodgers. I know the Dodgers are not playing great, but what I loved about that series was 2 straight walk-off wins. I mean, walk-off wins are confidence builders. That they're great for the fan base. They're exciting. And then almost to take the next 6. I mean, they've just looked really, really good. And so what I'm happy about is it just feels like this team is starting to gel a little bit. There was this moment, I think, in the first few weeks of the season where if they didn't have the lead going into the end of the season, into the game, the last few innings, you didn't have a lot of hope. And right now, this team, I feel like, has a chance, and they're going to fight right to the end. Here's what I'll say, everybody. We are a week and a half into May. We're 5-6 weeks into the season. don't give up on this team. This is a team of players that really want to win. They're not phoning it in. Enjoy the ride. What do you think?
I do think that this team, certainly it's not effort. And when we spoke to David Kaplan a couple of weeks ago, you had asked him that question, and he said this team comes to play every day. Rossi has this team prepared and ready to go, and I believe that, and we're seeing that. I don't think this is a team that is shut it down. And you mentioned that this is a club that there's no quit in them. Even on Sunday, this team was down 6-2. They score 3 runs late in the game and had an opportunity to win the game. And if Kyle Hendricks hadn't pitched a dud, they could have potentially won that game. So I like the production that we're seeing. We talked about the bench on our podcast last week, specifically, Matt Duffy and Eric Sogard. Those guys are providing a big spark. Jake Marcinek was up until he just got injured. So I really like what I'm seeing from the bench. And of course, the core guys who are continuing to get better at the plate. Bryant's already had, we've talked about him at length about what a great season he's having, but we're officially, I think, in the business, Chad, of starting to see Javi Baez starting to raise that average, which I think we both agreed was going to be the case. And Anthony Rizzo is eventually going to pick it up as well. So I like what we're seeing, but again, this team on the road is certainly going to be the team that I'm looking at as to how well they can play away from Wrigley compared to how well they do play at Wrigley.
You said this, and I don't want to go too far into this inning, just to say, that was a good loss. I mean, anybody watching that Sunday game, you didn't give up, and we've been giving up on this team for weeks, and that team fought to the very end, and you're starting to see these guys start to pick it up. So that's making me feel really good. I'm really excited about what I'm seeing out of this team. So let's move on. And you get the good, you get the bad. So this is one of those good, bad sort of situations. And the whole reason we're even talking about this inning is because of some bad. So you all remember that devastating injury, but not career ending or even season ending, where Ian Happ came in and Nico Horner was coming back. He made a great catch, Nico did. But Ian and Nico are both on the injured list because of that. But what that did, Ryan, was open up the opportunity for Jock Peterson to come in and take over, as we talked about on the podcast, take over the leadoff spot. And we have started to see not spring training Jock Peterson, because let's be honest, that's Babe Ruth. He was literally Babe Ruth during spring training, but we're starting to see what we want to see out of Jock Peterson. What's your take on seeing his resurgence, knowing that we saw good things? They didn't pick him up on a flyer. He had some good skills. How are you feeling about Jock Peterson 2.0?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is what we were hoping to see when they signed him. And this is what he wanted to prove, that he had plenty in the tank and that the Dodgers made a mistake getting rid of him. And when he got off to that slow start, Chad, I think you and I both just sat there and said, what is going on? I mean, we were pining for Kyle Schwarber at that point, because we thought this was going to be Kyle 2.0, maybe with more speed and maybe a little better defense. And then we weren't seeing that. So I like the fact that he had a strong homestand, especially the last, few games. And, finally, maybe Jock is starting to find his groove and he's starting to feel more comfortable at the plate. And you mentioned, him being in the leadoff spot. He's batting, a little lower in the order sometimes. He's a guy who hopefully brings a different dimension to providing power at the leadoff spot, or providing power just in the lineup in general, and being able to kind of, give the Cubs speed, power, and an added bat of offense when they need it most. So I'm hoping he can carry this over into the road trip. They certainly need him because, as you said, the injuries are starting to pile up. But I at least liked what I saw, the past few games. And hopefully we can see some sustained offense, or at least, his batting average continue to rise over the Mendoza line over the next few weeks. What about you?
Well, I mean, one of my favorite things to say when people are down on Javi or down on Rizzo or even down on Jock is to say averages are averages for a reason. And Jock Peterson is not a 162 hitter with, single digit home runs for the year. And right now, the positive thing is right now I think he's 206. So he is over the Mendoza line. But he has one home run. And so averages are averages for a reason. there's nothing in my mind that makes me think that all of a sudden he's forgotten how to hit home runs, hit for power, and also be around 250. And so he is, I think, Mesa and Wrigley are two totally different animals. Also, starting your season in LA versus starting your season when it's 42 degrees in Chicago, totally different animals. Jock had the benefit at LA of being in a platoon system, and so he could really, based on matchups, excel at better times. They basically said, Jock, it's yours. Go get it. You're the left fielder day to day. And so he's going to have some up days and down days depending on the pitching matchups. But the fact that he's over 200 right now, it makes me feel good because he has been hitting for contact. He's not trying to do too much. What happened in Mesa was ridiculous. I mean, that was a guy that was just amped up. He was ready to go. And now I think the weight of knowing you're the starting left fielder for the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field, I think you put a lot of pressure on yourself. So he has one home run right now. He is going to go on an explosion. We're going to see some when he heats up. Let's hope that Rizzo heats up at the same time and Javi heats up. And I think this offense has an opportunity to explode.
Yeah, very true. And I hope that, like you said, it just continues to boom throughout the year because as everybody else, he's playing for a contract. He wants to make some money next year. So hopefully this will, be the kick that he needs to kind of set himself off and get himself in the right mindset for the rest of the season. So let us move on now, Chad, to the 12th inning. And as we mentioned before, the IL list starting to pile up a little bit. Jake Marisnick and Jason Hayward, the latest to find themselves on the IL. Chad, the Cubs are going to have to bring up some guys from Iowa pretty soon because they're running out of outfielders right now. Basically, I mean, I guess Peterson technically was their starting left fielder, but I was going to say technically their entire starting outfield, really, because Peterson was benched for a while, is out right now. So, it's bubblegum and Band-Aids that are kind of piecing it together. Yeah. What do you make of these two latest injuries from Marisnick and Hayward?
Well, I mean, we've got a lot, and you think about. Let's not even talk about the pitching staff right now. Let's just talk about the guys out on the field. Marisnick going down and having something that could be a nagging issue. I'm kind of like reaching down to my lower extremities. He's got a situation that could be nagging. It could be long term. The situation with Jason Hayward. Let's hope that his hand is the cause of the fact that he's really struggling right now. Ian Happ. You hope that he's going to come back soon, but. I take the hope out of this. And so first off, you guys are seeing right now, make sure you visit the confines.com. We want you to, if you're a viewer, we want to make sure you listen to our podcast. I'm the eternal optimist. And I always believe that the brighter days are ahead. And my hope is, that's why Hayward's struggling right now. My hope is that Ian is going to come back better and stronger. The fact that Jock had some time away, he had some nagging issues, maybe this will come back and be a positive. But what I'm excited about and how can you not be excited about? I mean, Tuesday of last week or Monday night of last week, everybody went on the IL. Everybody went on the IL. This was a MASH unit. Chris Bryant is taking over center field. Let's talk about that. On the podcast, we talked about that. The versatility of Chris Bryant, who is an MVP candidate, who has played every position but second base, pitcher, and catcher. Incredible, his ability to slot in at center field. The fact that this team has won 7 out of the last 10, and I think 6 of those, while this team is a MASH unit, gives me hope, shows this team has a lot of heart. So am I concerned about Marisnick? Yeah, because if he's gone, then it's the next guy up. Am I concerned about Hayward? I am, but I'm concerned in a way where I'm actually hopeful that he's struggling right now because of what's going on with his hand and he can recover. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, listen, my question is who's going to start in the outfield right now? You mentioned Bryant. I mean, Bryant, I assume, would, maybe play left, and then you put Peterson in center, and who's going to man right field at this point?
I don't think Peterson goes to center. I don't think he has the speed. I think Bryant.
All right, so Bryant's in center, Peterson's in left. I still don't know who's playing right field at the moment, right? I mean, who we got? So I'm curious what that's going to look like. Marisnick, this is unfortunate because Marisnick was actually having a really good season. And we have not really spoken about the impact Jake Marisnick has had on this team. He was kind of a lightly regarded free agent signing. In fact, I remember when we talked about it on the show, we kind of, sarcastically said, Chad, the big free agent signing, Jake Marisnick. How excited. I've never even heard of the guy. And we both kind of laughed, but yet here we are. He's, next to Duffy, in my opinion, he's probably been the most impactful free agent that the team has had, at least offensively, for this team so far. Not maybe counting Arrieta, but so Hayward. Look, how I feel about Hayward. I know, great defensively. He's a liability with a bat, but certainly you don't want to see your starting right fielder out, especially because Jason Hayward is such an incredible defensive player. So I'm concerned about this to a T because, again, you never want to see your starting outfielders down. And these are two guys who obviously, at least defensively for Hayward, and Marisnik certainly providing some nice offensive punch, off the bench. Yeah. He was doing swell. So I hate to see this, and hopefully the Cubs can, again, overcome these early injuries because hopefully, or rather I should say, eventually it's gonna add up.
There's something to be said about being kind of pushed to your limits, though. There's something to be said about, guys, there's nobody coming through that door. It's us. And I think there's something about that in this last week where the team was not worried about who's going to be platooning in, who's going to be getting the start tomorrow. They were said, this is us. Here's who we are. And so if Marisnik and Hayward is going to be the straw that broke the camel back, we'll see. We've got this big series coming up, and we're gonna see here in Cleveland how the team responds. And I like the fact that we saw a lot of heart over the last week. That gives me a lot of energy and a lot of excitement as a Cubs fan.
Yeah, and maybe Ian Happ is coming back at this point. I mean, that's another option as well. So we'll see. All right, we are going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about Beth Mowins, who made her debut on the Marquee Sports Network, a historic day, and David Ross, Chad. A new love interest.
I love that we've got like a social calendar. Like we're like page 6 in the New York Post.
That's right.
I love it.
We're going to go National Enquirer coming up next. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
It's Peggy Kaczynski. I retired early from my 20-something career as a sportscaster, covering the Bulls, the Bears, the Blackhawks, the Cubs, the White Sox, and really every other college and high school team in Chicago. So what do you do after that? Well, you start a podcast. That's what I did with my teenage son, Jason. And the result is The Sportscaster and Her Son. Yes, I'm the baby boomer, a mom. We don't get along. We don't have a lot in common, but we both share a love for sports. And we always have great sports conversation. Even better, our guests in the interviews. So come check us out. We're on Podbean and the Barroom Network, or really wherever you get your audio. The Sportscaster and Her Son podcast. See you there.
Welcome back, everybody, to the extra innings edition of the Friendly Confines. He is Chad Gordon. I am Ryan Lieber. Chad, just a couple of other notes we want to talk about. This video internet show, as we call it. We're still coming up with a correct name for it.
Is anybody commenting right now? What are we doing? What is this?
Yeah,
put in the comments what you're watching. What are you watching? Tell us.
Would love that. That's right. Golden Rule Entertainment, Chad, is one of our sponsors. They are offering big league opportunities while you can own a piece of a minor league style ball club. To find out more information about how you can become an owner, go to goldenruleentertainment.com and you can potentially be an owner of a professional baseball team.
I love this. We don't always take on sponsors. I mean, we've had a couple. We won't mention them all because they're not sponsoring us anymore. We go through these cycles, but the ownership group of Golden Rule. What I love about this is that they have this kind of like Green Bay Packer sort of mentality. Like, do you want to be an owner of a minor league team? And they have visions of being owners of many minor league teams, and it's so cool. So definitely check them out at goldenruleentertainment.com. You have the ability. You could buy a stake in these minor league teams. And if you think about some there are minor league teams that all of our viewers right now can think of right now that have the Trash Pandas. What's your favorite, Ryan? You said you got a hat for. What was the
Savannah Bananas?
The Savannah Bananas. I mean, half of it's marketing, half is just like great swag and great hats and everything. But love these guys, love their vision. Ryan and I are hoping as well to be a part of the ownership group as well. So check them out. It's what they're planning on doing. It's pretty exciting. I've not heard of it before. But it's kind of cool. Like, you want to be a pro sports owner? I mean, that'd be kind of cool to talk about at your next fantasy football draft, right?
Without a doubt. Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, I happen to own a baseball team as well. That's a good pickup line as well for if you're ever deciding and you're single, something to think about. We also want to make sure people know about our merchandise, Chad. The Friendly Confines merch. You can get hats, T-shirts, mugs. Chad and I are sporting our hats. Now, these are the ones we have, but there are other style baseball caps you can get. You go to deepdishtees.com and you can get all sorts of merchandise from the Barroom Network, which is a part of who we are with. And of course, this would not be possible without Aldo Gandia, who's on the other side of the glass, who heads up the Barroom Network, and we appreciate him so much. So go to deepdishtees.com, Chad, and you can get more merchandise of the Friendly Confines or other Barroom Network podcasts that you listen to or watch right here on these internet shows. As we start,
you are such a good commercial guy. You're good. You're the promo guy. You're the hype guy. I love that.
Thank you.
Hey, let's move on to the next inning, and we're going to talk about history that was made. And raise your hand if you're a viewer right now that has a mom or has had a mom. Because it's kind of historic, and I love that they did it this weekend. I'm not sure if that was the reason for it, but Beth Mowins was the play-by-play voice of the Chicago Cubs Saturday and Sunday. Historically, she had done it in spring training, which was a big deal, but was the first play-by-play voice for the Chicago Cubs in a regular season game in their history, and their historic 100 and almost 50-year history. It's incredible, and I think she does an incredible job. And if you look at her bio, she has such an incredible history. Rana, what'd you think about that? And obviously, one of the things we talked about, and I don't want to make this about Boog, we're going to talk about Beth, but, Boog is a high-profile guy, and he's doing a lot of high-profile things. He took the Cubs job saying, hey, I want to do these other things with ESPN, but what a great number two in Beth. I mean, she really sets the stage in such a great way.
She obviously has the resume already, Chad, as you mentioned. She worked for ESPN or still does games for ESPN. She's done college football. She's done college basketball. So, you're already talking about a name who comes in and is doing play-by-play. And it's a great sign of the times as well, Chad, because we are seeing more women in those roles, whether it be play-by-play. Melanie Newman, who is the play-by-play announcer for the Baltimore Orioles. She's getting the opportunity on the radio. Or Jessica Mendoza, who's now an analyst on ESPN. It's not just sideline reporters. And you and I were lucky enough to have Jessica Kleinschmidt on the podcast last week. She is the pre- and post-game analyst / host / reporter for the Oakland A's with NBC Sports in California. And I asked her specifically about how far women have come, and does she like the direction that it's going in when it comes to women getting more opportunities to broadcast. And here's what she had to say.
I think we still have a long way to go, but we're definitely on that way. And I honestly just don't think it'll ever go away. And I think that's part of it, though. And like, you can ask any of the women that are in this industry, and that's part of it. Like, we're always going to probably have to work harder than the guys. And this has been since Little League. If I made an error, it was because girls shouldn't play baseball. If Cody playing shortstop made an error, he was having an off day. That's how it always was. So it just kind of is what it is. When I make a mistake, it's extra because of my gender, and that's BS. So I'm at this point in my life, I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna F up. We all do, but so did that guy. And I don't see you coming at him in a certain way. Or if I tweet about a player, I'm automatically romantically attracted to him. And that's not the case. But then if another man who says, oh, Chris Bryant, I have a man crush on him, which you should, he's a beautiful man, but you should also remind ourselves, I can't say that stuff. So that kind of stuff. So we're forward moving, but we have a lot of work to do.
I love that
the interview.
soundbite.
Yeah.
Is she not great?
Yeah, I love the interview with Jessica. And again, you're seeing down below, go to theconfines.com or search for the Friendly Confines Cubs podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to our podcast. the way it's structured, if you're new to the show, it's a 9-inning format. We're obviously doing extra innings here. And the 7th inning is always a special guest, and Jessica's our special guest this week. Next week, we're talking with Alex Cohen, the play-by-play guy for the AAA Iowa Cubs, who had a historic week. I don't want to get too much into that. Let's go back to Jessica just to say her soundbite is just so eye-opening. I think, what I've learned in recent years is I very much look through the world in the eyes of the way I grew up and where I grew up and the people I grew up with. And you don't know the struggles that people undergo. I mean, we are a long way away from Jack Brickhouse and Harry Carey. And the fact that we've got a woman, an accomplished woman. I mean, I believe she was the first person ever to broadcast a Monday Night Football game. She did that. She broke that barrier. She had an amazing career in college. I think she was a 1,000-point scorer on her basketball team. And she has the reps. She's done the work. She's been in this business a long time, and it wasn't jarring for me. I've heard that before. I'll share that. A woman's voice, talking about men's sports. It's jarring. It wasn't jarring for me. Knowledgeable, great storyteller, absolutely fantastic. As I said, to set you up to say, if Boog's gone and this is our number 2, we're very lucky to have Beth.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And like I said, as you already said, she has the resume. She did Monday Night Football. She's done the college sports. She's done, so much at ESPN and has that national recognition. And I should mention too, Chad, Susie Waldman, of course, has done the Yankees games on the radio for a very long time. She was actually the original of the women to broadcast games in baseball, doing play-by-play. And then, other analysts, in other sports. I mean, Doris Burke, who's arguably the best analyst in the NBA. So it's great to see that we are seeing a shift where women, if they know what they're talking about, I have absolutely no problem with it. I think it's wonderful, and I think it's great to see that, because nothing should, when people throw the, well, they're a girl, they don't get the sport. How does that differentiate to any other play-by-play announcer who's never played the sport? I mean, it makes no sense that they're a guy.
Let's be honest. Boog has not taken major league pitching. Boog couldn't hit a curveball to save his life. Like, what does he know? Right. He knows how to tell a story. He knows how to set up his JD. He knows how to set up the color guy, and that's what you want. And she did such an amazing job with that.
Yeah, without a doubt. So best of success to Beth, and continued success, of course.
But by the way, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you check out the podcast. We're recording on Wednesday. The full interview with Jessica, we're going to do a snippet of it on Wednesday, but then we'll do the full interview the following week. Make sure, if you're a viewer, we want you to be a listener as well. Go to theconfines.com. You can subscribe on Spotify. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts.
All right, so let us move on now to the 14th inning, Chad. And here we are putting on our People Magazine,
Rossi,
New York Post. That's right. You did this just for this 14th inning, Chad. It has been reported. I mean, this is like the new power couple in Chicago, Chad. David Ross is apparently dating actress Tori DeVito, who is the star of Chicago Med. Now, of course, there's the plethora of Chicago shows that are on NBC. You got Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, Chicago PD. Do you watch any of these shows, Chad? And because I don't. I have to honestly admit, I don't watch them. But good for Rossi, who was divorced recently and has apparently found love again. And maybe this will be a spark for Rossi to get a little more pep in his step, Chad, to feel like he can really manage this team the rest of the season. How do you feel about Rossi finding Tori DeVito as his new main squeeze for this season? This is the new power couple in Chicago, Chad. This is it.
I have a link to the Chicago shows, the Chicago Fire, Chicago PD. One of the directors on Chicago Fire actually stayed in my place after I moved out of it. He actually stayed there with his family.
Is that right?
For 9 months and introduced me to the world of corporate housing. I loved it greatly. Craig Langus, he's not a viewer, but hopefully I'll let him know I name dropped him. I love it. You know what I always think about? It's like the ability to be a baseball wife has got to be really challenging. Like when you're young, Chris's family, everything is just beautiful. It's just like marriage. You know how it is. You're still a newlywed. Everything's beautiful. It's passionate. It's all the good things. We won't go into that right now. I don't want to embarrass you, but as you go through, it has to be a bit of a grind. It has to be a part of like something you just understand. And Rossi had a grind. He had a long career. He had a few stops. And I just wonder, because we were all kind of surprised by the divorce news. And I just wonder if his wife expected, like, once it ended, here in his late 30s, that like she was going to get Rossi. And Rossi's like, nah, I'm gonna broadcast TV. I'm gonna broadcast the Little League. I'm gonna be on ESPN Sunday night. I'm not coming home. Like, I'm gonna continue doing this. And I think the broadcasting schedule is a bit more of a grind in some cases. So, that happened. We don't know anything about that. All I can say is marriage is hard, from what I understand. I don't know that for a fact. You can tell me that story, but it is good to see two people in love, and it looks like they're in love. And I want my manager in love. I want my manager fired up. I want my manager, energized. And young love, new love, fresh love is a good thing to have. What do you think?
Absolutely. Listen, there is nothing like starting a relate. Now, Chad, this is something you can relate to. There's nothing like starting a relationship and the feeling you have when you first meet somebody. And
what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say I've started a lot of relationships? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm just saying, as a single guy, you've maybe, had and Edward Pressman, one of our viewers. Yes, marriage isn't hard. It's very hard. No,
it's very
he's right.
hard.
He's right. But listen, there is no feeling like the first few months you're dating somebody and you're excited and you're learning about them. And so I'm sure David Ross is on cloud 9 right now. He's the manager of the Cubs. He's got a gorgeous actress girlfriend. Now he's going to, Rossi's a little bit part of the Hollywood scene. He was on Dancing with the Stars. So he kind of gets it a little bit. And so, I think this is good for him. And now, like I said, listen, Chad, Chicago is not LA. So there's not a ton of like celebrities that we see on a regular basis. So this is a big power couple in Chicago, if not the biggest power couple in Chicago. So I'm happy for Rossi. I hope it obviously works out, because it certainly will make him happy, make him a happier manager in the clubhouse, and hopefully it'll convert to more victories too for this team. So I'm all for it.
Here's the thing, because we've opened up this Pandora's box, let's talk about relationships right now. I'm a momentum guy.
We're going to do that. We're going to do
in
that.
Momentum.
Okay.
I believe like momentum matters. Momentum matters in a relationship. I don't know how Major League Baseball players keep momentum. How do sports stars keep momentum? I mean, they go away, they come back. There's all those temptations on the road. So it's a challenge. Marriage is hard. We just saw it's very hard on the text. Good for Rossi. I hope he finds everlasting, life-sustaining love this second time around. And again, hopefully that'll convert to good performance also on the field.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah, it took me a while to get there. All right, let's move on to the 15th and final inning. And I brought this up this afternoon in our production meeting with intern Peyton, Aldo, and Ryan. I thought, as we close it out, because we're going to close it out with this inning, just to kind of preview and talk about, because we're now thinking ahead to the podcast. And so we've covered what we covered today, Ryan. So I'm going to put you on the spot right now. As we shared earlier, for the viewers that may not be listeners, we do 9 innings. One of them is the interview. We go lighthearted towards the end. But the first 6 innings are very specific to what's going on with the Cubs at that time. What are you excited about right now with the Chicago Cubs? What sort of inning topic do you want to dig into that has got you going? You don't have to dig into it hard, but like, what are you thinking for the rundown? What's got you going for this Chicago Cubs team here the second week of May?
Well, I mean, certainly it's the momentum that this team has built, and will they be able to continue that momentum? Now they have the 2-game series with Cleveland. Then is it Washington that they have after that? They play the Nats at home, I believe. So, I think there's an opportunity there. No, I'm sorry. They go to Detroit.
No, you're right about the Washington at home, but they're on the road the next 2 weeks. They're in Ohio and in Michigan.
Okay, so they got the Tigers, and that's a very winnable series against the Tigers, the worst team in baseball. So I'm hoping that they can continue that trend of playing well, because again, they're a different team at Wrigley than they are away from Wrigley. So I'd be curious to see how this plays out, that we can discuss in the next couple of days. The other thing I want to mention, Chad, is our old friend Michelle Margot, who is with the SNY Network. She is our guest this week, and we get into all the changes that have been happening in Major League Baseball. The 7-inning doubleheader, the runner starting at second base in the extra innings, a host of other things. Now, one of the things that she talked about was about the biggest change that she misses from the game being played today from maybe when she first started covering it. And this is what she had to say. Here is Michelle Margot.
I miss small ball. I miss singles. I miss hitters being patient. Right now, and it seems again it's going to be going that direction. Is all strikeouts and home runs, and I don't like that. And it feels like the more pop you have, the more valuable the player is. And I think it's super underrated to have someone who can get on base without hitting a home run.
So Michelle Margot from the SNY Network, she covers the New York Mets. She is lovely. Chad, believe it or not, she remembered us. She remembered us.
Oh, that day. Yes.
We can tell that story really quickly. Basically, Chad and I, with some other people, we were at a San Diego Padres game. Chad hooked us up with tickets. You did an amazing job. And I tweeted at Michelle, who was then the sideline reporter and host for the San Diego Padres on Fox Sports. And I said, hey, I'm here in San Diego with some friends. Would you mind coming down and hanging out with us for a few minutes? And no, Michelle is not married, but she is engaged. Sorry, Chubbs. And so, so Michelle actually came down, and I didn't say a word to her leading up to the interview, Chad, about if we had met before or how we had met. And during the course of the interview, I actually brought up the story. And before I could even start the story, she said, oh, no, I know exactly who you are. So I was very impressed because I didn't think she honestly remembered. And she said to me, she goes, yeah, I remember you were sitting behind home plate. You tweeted at me and I came out and I hung out with you. So she was great, really a lot of fun. I enjoyed having her on, and she had some really good insight. For somebody who, I was joking with her because she's very, she's in her, I think she's 30 at most. So she's a millennial. You and I are the old school, get off my lawn guys. No. She actually has a very old school sort of thought process when it comes to baseball. So I was very impressed by that. What about yourself? What are you looking forward to this week as we discuss the podcast that we're going to be dropping this week? And what did you think about the fact that Michelle was excited to join us again, and she remembered us as well?
Well, first off, that was a fun boys weekend. That was a great time, and it was killer seats, and we had a great night. We had a whole great time in San Diego. Did I goof? Peyton, our intern Peyton just told me that I teased that Jessica was the host this week, but it's actually Michelle. Did I goof on that?
Yeah, I think Jessica is our guest this week on the show. Right. Well, or she is our current guest.
Current guest.
But when we drop the podcast this coming week, it'll be Michelle. Yes.
Yeah, so my bad, everybody. Every now and then I'm going to mess up, but two fantastic guests. I want to do a real quick moment to tease ahead to our guests, then I'll tell you what I'm excited about. One of the things I actually was excited about, it actually prompted the reason we have the guest next week. We've got Alex Cohen, the voice of the Iowa Cubs, and I reached out to him. He's a friend of the program. Ryan, you did an interview with him in April of 2019, so back when things were normal. And I said, Alex, we'd love to have you back on, because Alex called a no-hitter this last week. I think it was like 4 or 5 pitchers. They combined for a no-hitter. That's awesome. AAA and minor league baseball is back. That's awesome to be able to talk about. AAA games, Iowa Cubs are on the Marquee Network. So Alex is getting the big time. He's being shown in Chicago. So that's really fun. And then what's also really cool, the thing that actually got me excited was, and this isn't what I'm excited about in my inning, but this is what I'm excited about. Alex is the owner of the Iowa Cubs. And you have to imagine an owner of a AAA team probably has done really well. I don't know. But he didn't take anybody off payroll during COVID. The stories that are coming out right now, he took like a $3-4 million loss, kept everybody on payroll. I want to dig into that story. I want to learn what it's like to work for a guy like that. And so I'm excited about that. The thing that I am excited, and it actually connects with Margot's interview, is this thought that launch angle and batted ball speed is like the end all and be all. Is it really, or is it just what we're talking about right now? And there are some tweets going out today basically talking about, and I'm going to pull it back for just a second to think about think about everybody that's batting like garbage right now, and you look at the numbers, like Javi's batting average, Rizzo's batting average. You can look at Jock's batting. You look at the guys that are just really struggling. Wilson. The major league average, I don't have the exact number in front of me because I don't have enough screens right here, is like 226.
Yeah, you're
the
right.
Major League Baseball batting average is 226. So if you're upset with Javi batting 230, don't be. He is exceptional. Baseball's different. I want to dig into that. I want to spend an inning really talking about the changes to the game and how launch angle and batted ball speed and all those sort of things, and also looking at pitching and pitchers and substance and spinner. It's changed baseball. And are we there for good? Is this just what it is? Is it feast or famine for everybody? Are we so much in a cocoon with Chicago Cubs that we think this is what we're dealing with? Or is this everywhere? So I want to dig into that on our show on Wednesday.
Awesome stuff. All right. And don't forget, you need to ask Alex Cohen. He was on an episode of House Hunters this year.
Yes, I saw that.
Bought a house.
I saw that.
So you got to ask him about that, of course, and learn about his experience on that. All right. Well,
hold on. Yeah. I want to say one thing. If you go to theconfines.com and sign up for our mailing list, we track these. If 10 people sign up in the next 24 hours, I'm going to give some swag from the things right behind me, and we'll announce it on next week's show. We're going to make that a weekly thing. So please go on, subscribe, go to Spotify, go to Apple Podcast. We love that you're viewers. We want to also make you listeners as well. We're so excited we're here, and you're here with us as well.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that. So go to theconfines.com to locate the podcast, and you can find us on Spotify and Apple or wherever else you get your podcast. Don't forget, too, Chad is on social media along with me. Chad is at the Chad Gordon. I am at Ryan D. Lieber. And then, of course, our Facebook page, the Chicago Cubs Friendly Confines Facebook page. Become a part of our group, and we'd love to interact with you and hear what you have to say about our show and about what we can bring to you on our podcast. So, Chad, another nice show in the works. We'll be back here next Monday. Once again, our thanks to Aldo Gandia on the other side who helped us and produced this show. We appreciate
Aldo, can you throw yourself up on camera? We're done in 60 seconds. There
Aldo.
He
is. Thanks, Aldo.
And by the way, Aldo is the brains behind all of this. If you like the Bears, go to Barroom Network. If you like the Bulls, go to Barroom Network. If you like the White Sox, go to Barroom Network. It's the place to be. If you want to talk Chicago sports, it is the only place you want to be for some fresh takes and great content.
Without a doubt. All right. So our thanks to Jessica Kleinschmidt, to Michelle Margot. For Chad, I am Ryan. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the Extra Innings edition of the Friendly Confines. Our podcast drops this week. We'll talk to you soon, everybody. Have a good one.